So, guys, what's been your go-to like takeout during this pandemic here? What have you guys been migrating towards?
Bro, I
Ooh,
got a place. Okay, so I live in lovely Castaic, California, which is in the middle of nowhere, and we have a Mexican restaurant called Las Rocas, and it's normally like a sit-down restaurant, like an El Torito type place. You know, like the kind of Mexican restaurant that you get chips and salsa before your meal, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
But they have they've completely turned into a takeout business like most restaurants are right now, but they were actually like really ahead of the curve and did it earlier than everyone else. And they have a bean and cheese chimichanga that's the size of a small baby, comes with beans and rice. I fucking love it. It's amazing. um,
that
that's
that's not
that's my go-to.
that's not wreaking havoc on you, man.
No, dude, I have built up a diarrhea immunity to their food, so it's like I can eat it all day and not blast once. And
I just
it's
remember you
kind of,
texting me after you ate Steak Escape, and you're like, "Dude, this fucking wrecked me."
dude, Steak Escape. Steak Escape made me have to shit at the mall. And if you know me, you know I would not shit at the mall for any amount of money unless I'm about to completely shit my pants.
It's because a mall
Uh,
is a sacred place. You do not shit there.
right, but the mall was a half hour away from my house, so I had to take care of business in a flash.
I
Almost died on the toilet like Elvis.
how about you, Chris?
There's also a nice Mexican restaurant that's near my apartment. I live downtown, so there's like some nice little, sort of, little bit middle end restaurants. Not just Taco Bell, but a little bit nicer. There's
Nice,
also
yeah.
a nice Vietnamese noodle joint that's not too far, and I've gotten there a couple times. And they're doing curbside, so you don't even have to get out of your car.
There's a good Thai place that's like right around the corner for me. I've definitely been going there. I've done a little Portos action for you listeners that know what Portos is. If you do
Oh,
not,
yeah. Son of a bitch, I
Because
miss Portos
Jackson,
so bad.
asshole, lives next to Portos.
to be
I
fair,
miss
the
the
first
potato
time
balls.
the first time I ordered from there, I picked it up and then I went home and I looked inside and they forgot my order.
Ugh.
So I had to drive back and you
That's
had to
what you
like
get.
wait in this line of cars and I was like,
That's what you
What
get.
kind of
"Jerks."
shit happens to Zach?
Yeah.
One time we were at a convention and we were at a line to get into this parking lot, and they told Zach he couldn't park there. He was the car in front of us, so they made him turn around and leave, and then they let us park there, the car behind him.
That's
Um,
what you get for just
Mhm.
buying tickets to a parking lot. It sounds boring as hell. I will say, guys, the one thing I missed most when I lived in California was Tex-Mex, because California just does Mexican differently. It's not worse. It's just differently, and I really missed Tex-Mex. You guys, finding like good queso out there was incredibly hard.
I imagine it's hard in Arkansas too though.
No, we Arkansas invented queso.
Oh, did it?
We have a queso festival every year because
Really?
queso originated in Arkansas.
In Arkansas?
Yeah.
what?
Yes, it's not a Mexican thing.
We need to go to the queso festival.
Authentic Mexicans didn't melt white cheese and then just like pour it all over their everything that they have.
Honestly, guys, I'm just glad my boys here are staying healthy and eating the right way. Cause Casey, I've been to the mall with you, man. You eat just like candy covered bacon. You just go to town, my friend. I've been worried about your diet for a long time.
Dude, basically, if it's on the mall, it doesn't count. It's just the rules.
Welcome to another Miserable Podcast, everybody. How's it going? I hope you're hanging in there, staying
They can't
safe.
answer us, but can't answer.
We are the horror podcast that all other horror podcasts fear. Or don't know about at all. That's probably more.
Yeah.
Or at
Well,
least
fear of the
concerned
unknown
about.
is a very strong fear. um,
But it is a special occasion today, gentlemen. You want to know why?
Why?
Thank you for responding, Chris. Because it is our 1 year anniversary since we started another Miserable Podcast.
Oh my god.
what a way to celebrate.
Oh my god. Life is just slipping away.
We've been going at this for 1 year. Technically, the last episode marked that occasion, but today we're celebrating it. So, happy
Day
1
is
year,
closer.
guys.
Congrats. We lasted longer than my last podcast.
So, 1 year, we've done 25 episodes of this sucker.
Yeah.
That's
We
almost a decade
should cut
in
back.
podcast years.
It's almost a decade in podcast years. But we're doing something special today, something we haven't done before, and I thought, what better way to
And
mark...
we will never do again.
I thought, what better way to mark 1 year of Another Miserable Podcast than by taking a viewer request. So...
By viewer, we mean listener.
Listener.
Because only people listen to
Listener
this show.
request, yes.
Oh, the crestfallen look in Zach's eyes when he realized he said the wrong word.
Semantics.
We can see each other. We're never going to upload this because we're like fucking not wearing shirts. Our balls are hanging out. You guys, you don't want to see that on YouTube. YouTube won't let us post it. So this is audio only for a reason, is what I'm saying. We don't have to make ourselves beautiful for you.
I think my hair looks really good today, so that'd be fine if you uploaded.
It does look
yes,
good, Chris. It
It's
does
very
look good.
lustrous. I like it. The lighting is like tremendous right now for you, Chris.
Your balls look fantastic as well, Chris.
It's almost magic hour.
Yeah, mine this new chair, ooh, Batwing City. Some of our listeners know what that means. If you don't know what Batwinging it is, ask Zach on Twitter at Earth the number 2 McFly. He will explain it to you.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, what terrible movie did we watch, Zach?
Okay, no, so we're doing a viewer request today. This comes from my very good dear friend Joe. Hello, Joe. Thank you for sending in this request.
Thank you for listening, Joe, but you done us dirty, sir.
For future reference, if you want to send in a request to us, please do. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Oh yeah, it's kind of cool to get us all watching the same thing, because some of the episodes we don't do that, like we'll each watch like a different movie and talk about it, but now we're all on the same page, at least that we've all seen the same movie. We're going to talk about it, and it's kind of a cool little slice of variety. Instead of us trying to sell each other on something, we can just complain about it.
Yeah, just so, so if you have requests, you can send them, you can honestly DM any of us, but if you want, you can DM our official Twitter account, which is twitter.com/MPOSofficial, twitter.com/MPOSofficial. You can also send an email to miserablepilesecretsofficial at gmail.com. That's miserablepilesecrets@gmail.com. Or you can send a DM to my personal Twitter account at Earth2McFly. That's Earth, the number 2 McFly. Or me on Instagram.
Slide into those
Zach.
DMs.
Or straight up, just tweet it very publicly. Call us out. Be like, you guys are punk bitches. You need to talk about this movie, motherfucker.
Yeah. Or if you
To it.
subscribe to our YouTube channel,
That's nice.
just comment on this video right here if you have any requests for us.
Hey, that's a great idea. Comment on this video. After you hit that like button, be sure to mash that like button and subscribe. Turn on those notifications, because that shit's not fucking annoying.
I'm just gonna scroll Twitter for a while you guys talk about all the things, all the social media platforms.
Okay, that's enough for
You want to
now.
see us on TikTok?
We're
Zach
not on
does all
TikTok.
These little dances, they're hilarious.
Okay, so today, our first viewer request from Joe is a film called The Devil's Reign, 1975. Good old 1975.
Can I give a little personal history to this movie, Zach?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I've talked about it here before. I used to work at Halloween Town in Burbank. We talk about Burbank a lot. We used to have, it's a year-round Halloween store. We used to have movies playing in the background while we worked. This was one of them. So I've seen this movie probably about 25 times without really paying attention to it and just stopping to watch the cool parts. Because, I'd be working, I'd be stocking shelves, I'd be helping customers. Other stuff would be going on as the movie played. And the sound would go throughout the whole store, so you knew when you heard some rain, something cool was probably going to happen. But I've never sat down by myself to actually watch this movie until now. How about you guys? Have you seen it before this request?
No, I'd only heard about it, and it involves like a certain person's face, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. That's the only like reference to this that I knew about, and I didn't realize until like watching this movie that this was that movie.
I had not seen it before, but one of the things I found interesting is that the director, Robert Foust, directed
Book.
the Dr. Phibes movie, so the abominable Dr. Phibes with Vincent Price, which is a fantastic film. Basically,
So
the
you did
original
a
Saw.
You did Robert Fuchs back to back.
I did, actually, yes.
I absolutely love Dr. Phibes. Absolutely.
Let's talk about that movie instead.
I wish.
So The Devil's Reign, I actually enjoyed this. It's got some pacing issues. I think it has a really cool opening. I love
pacing issues. You don't say, Zach.
Yeah. It's not a long movie. It's only like 83 minutes or something
Oh, but
like
it
that.
feels like it. Sorry. Continue.
So it has a really cool opening. It starts on just like these religious, kind of messed up religious pictures. You see like suffering and demons and people wailing. This kind of this artwork, and then I love the color palette of this movie. I really think it looks great. Yeah, it's got a very kind of flush sort of 70s.
But 66 Batman color palette,
Yeah.
more or less. Yeah.
I don't know. I really loved the colors. They're like lots of golds and kind of
Lots of reds.
reds. Yeah.
Yeah, this really felt like a movie I probably could have and probably would have enjoyed more if I had seen it at the New Beverly at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
So if you were sleep deprived and possibly inebriated.
So the plot of this is kind of like, it's not dissimilar from something like Mandy. And in ways, I kind of feel like Mandy and films of that ilk probably took some stuff from this film.
Yeah, this is a really popular film among a lot of horror fans, and I'm gonna lose some respect from people for not liking it that much. But I do gotta say, a lot of horror fans fucking love this movie, especially like the more Satan people. You know who you are. So
Shout
I
out
really
to the
like this movie.
Satan people.
yeah,
So this film is it's about a family that has been like stalked by this cult like their entire lives, and they contain this book that the cult is after. The leader of this cult, a man named Corbus, played by Ernest Borgnine, who is fantastic in this movie. And I will just say here, if you want a really entertaining double feature, watch Marty, and then watch The Devil's Reign if you want to see the range of Ernest Borgnine.
Just pretend that Marty is the same character and that Marty went down a really dark path right after.
God damn, that would be so much more entertaining. Now, I do gotta say though, based on this film, Ernest Borgnine was a guest of Monsterpalooza and had a very long line at his table and was super nice to everybody, smiling the whole time. He seemed like he was having a great time. So
Probably
good on
being
Ernest
asked to quote
Borgnine. We
Mermaid
love that
Man.
guy.
Yeah, so I was gonna say Marty, The Devil's Reign, and then an episode of SpongeBob with Mermaid Man. Look at that, man! Look at that career right there. That's incredible.
What TV show is he on? Was it McHale's Navy?
He was on something.
Troop? Something way before our
Something your
times.
dad watched?
Yeah.
So Ernest Borgnine is not the only man in this. A guy named William R. Shatner. No, not R. Shatner, just William Shatner.
And if you're looking for some shat-tastic acting, oh boy.
Oh my goodness.
And if you thought Captain Kirk had shitty fight scenes, oh boy.
And if you thought William Shatner's toupee was unconvincing on the Star Trek TV show,
Wait
oh
till it
boy.
gets wet. Oh. I do gotta say though, the real star of this movie is John Travolta.
He was in there for like
Okay, guys, I
15
did not
seconds.
realize that he was in this movie until at one point I looked up from my computer and I looked up at the screen and I was like, is that John Travolta?
Without eyeballs.
And then I Googled it and I was like, that's John Travolta.
He has very prominent placing in the credits. So I
And
feel
he doesn't
like-
show up until like the last 15 minutes of the film, maybe.
And he's in it for like 2 seconds, and I think he does have a line. I think he's a blasphemer.
He shows up, and then you're like, "Wait, I know that chin." You're like, "I recognize that chin."
Oh my gosh.
Do you think that he has like prominent placement in the credits because he probably made this movie before he was famous and then it came out after he was famous?
Right, like Welcome Back Kotter might have come in like right after this. Or Grease. I guess Grease is more famous than Welcome Back Kotter.
Yeah, I feel like he was
Yeah.
probably like slightly famous after Welcome Back Kotter, but then after Grease it was like, yeah.
You
I
gotta
know
say,
who he
Welcome
is.
Back Kotter
Or
did
Saturday
have
Night Fever.
Lego action figures, including a Sweat Hogs Classroom playset that is very rare these days. This has been Casey's Action Figure News for 1977.
I will say, interesting bit of trivia. Not to get into a whole religious conversation, but since this film is about religion, John Travolta found his way to Scientology because of Joan Prather, who starred in this movie as Tom Skerritt's wife, and she told him about it on set of this film, apparently.
Damn it, Zach, you took my bit of trivia.
I'm sorry.
And other
okay, I got some more
trivia, which is in the credits, so most of you have seen it, is Anton LaVey of the Church of Satan served as technical director for this movie.
I think it's ironic that a film about cults and John Travolta finds out about Scientology on set of this.
I feel like that's my problem with this movie is it didn't go like as awesome with the cult as it should have. This is like the G-rated version.
Did you see the ending of this movie?
Have you seen Satanic Panic?
I guarantee you it doesn't have this ending.
Oh, it's close.
A
lot more interesting visuals.
A lot less wax. So, the setup of this film, you start in on this family. It's William Shatner and his parents, and his mother and I guess their servant.
I don't know who the fuck the old guy is. They don't
He's not in servant clothing, but
I thought it was their grandpa.
I thought it was
like this movie. This movie kind of just starts, and you're like,
yeah,
what's going? Am I in the middle of something? Like, was this the middle of the movie? Or are we gonna?
And we do gotta tell people, even though none of us took advantage of this because it didn't go up until yesterday afternoon, this is available to stream for free on Tubi TV. But not we watched it. God damn it!
Yeah, I rented it this morning, and then like 3 hours later, Casey's like, "It's up on Tubi now," and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah,
so it's on YouTube as well, guys.
It's on YouTube for free.
Yeah, somebody
Oh shit.
Should I pay
why aren't you guys like me and just like search the bowels of the internet before you even think about paying for a movie?
Because I don't like bowels, Chris.
I thought maybe I would like owning this movie from the parts that I saw that were cool as shit. Some of this movie is cool as shit. We do get last 10 minutes. Skip to it. You'll love the movie. You'll give it 5 stars.
So the movie just like starts in the middle of the damn plot. Like you feel like you miss like half an hour worth of stuff.
But then we get a very lengthy flashback after they take 45 minutes to introduce the real main characters of the movie.
Yeah, it pulls a bit of a psycho, but we'll get to that. So he's with his parents and they're concerned because their dad has went to this cult to confront, I guess, the leader or something. And then all of a sudden he shows up outside, but he doesn't look right. His eyes are gone. He has like black sockets with his eyes, and he like sends them a warning, like not to go to Corbus. Again, they have this book that Corbus wants. It's like this like this demon book, the Necronomicon or whatever, so to speak.
It's a bootleg version of the Necronomicon.
Yeah, bootleg version. And then all of a sudden he like melts in the rain. It looks awesome. This happens again later in the film, as we'll get to.
Yeah, because it's the one gag this movie has, so they do the same effect over and over and over again instead of giving variants or Hey
man, they had a cool effect.
They should have had like 10 other curses they could throw at people. Like, it would have been so much cooler.
Hey man, the budget had to go to fucking William Shatner's toupee.
I feel stupid that not realizing he had a toupee, but
I'm just like, after like finding out that like so many famous actors from like especially the 40s and the 50s wore toupees, I'm just like, I'm looking at every man's hair now from the old
John
movies.
Saxon surprised the shit out of me because it doesn't look good, so it's convincing.
This is not a toupee, gentlemen. This is not a toupee.
We can tell it's more of a wig.
This is not a toupee.
Yeah, so William Shatner's father melts. Then they go back inside, and his mom is worried sick, and he's like, "Don't worry, I'm going to go there and confront Corbus." And he leaves, and all of a sudden he turns around, and his house is like lighting up and like going ape shit.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Some
"Oh
shit
crap!"
happens. The fucking magic spells turns the lights on and off really fast, like a teacher trying to quiet down a fucking classroom. It's amazing.
So he goes back inside, and
Once
the
again, it's
servant.
like, don't look down at your phone, or you're gonna miss something.
So he goes back inside, and the servant / grandfather / we don't know who he is like hanging upside down, and he's got blood on his face, and he's like, "Your mom is gone." And so he's like, "Don't worry."
Your mom. The ADR is fucking terrible in this scene, by the way. And he's like, "Your mom, your mom, they got her, hide the book." I read
So-
the book, Zachary.
So he tells him, "Don't worry, I'll be back," and he leaves him, and he's just like dying, and he's like, "Okay."
I'm bleeding, you son of a bitch! Come back!
Did
Taking
you ever
off
see?
my testicles?
Did you ever see the Amanda Show, Casey? Because you sound like that one sketch where they're like, I forget the
Oh
name
my
of
god,
it.
he
It's like
does.
the guy that like Amanda is prank calling, and he's like, "Hello, you have the wrong number."
I've never seen the Amanda Show. Sorry.
It's okay, Zach. I'm
after
your
my
age.
time, I think.
I just dated myself right there. Not in a good way.
Yeah, with me saying I'm too old to fucking see it, I dated
I
myself.
bet we're the only people on Earth that have name dropped the Amanda Show and the Devil's Raid in these.
That's okay, Casey. I think it's more embarrassing when people are just like, "Oh, remember that old show?" and they name something from like 2005. I'm just like, ugh, how embarrassing.
Zach does that all the time. He's like, "Do you remember that old show, Blackish?" I'm like, yeah.
The one that's still on the air.
Remember that old show, How I Met Your Mother? I think they show it on TV Land now.
Oh, suit up.
So then what happens, Zach? Because I don't understand.
I actually love the next scene. So William Shatner goes into the middle of the desert into this shanty old western town. And then he sees an Ernest Borgnine who's dressed up in cowboy gear. And it's kind of, I really did like the scene because it's creepy because I know Ernest Borgnine's the villain. You're not really supposed to know that yet. But he's
Dude, his eyebrows tell you everything.
yes. And William Shatner's like, I'm here. I'm only want to talk to Corbus. And Borgnine is like, then speak. And then they basically challenge each other to a duel in the best way possible. Mm-hmm. William Shatner's like, I will take everything that is at that door, because there's like this kind of creepy church house far back. And Ernest Borgnine's like, all right, your religion versus my religion. And then William Shatner promptly gets his ass kicked, essentially, in praying, I guess. So he goes into this church and he starts to pray.
He was worse at praying. And so he loses his eyeballs and his soul.
Yeah, they basically capture him, and you're like, well, I guess he's not the protagonist. And then you jump to Mr. Tom Skerritt, and he and his wife are, I guess, scientists and researchers, and there's also another guy who was like the head researcher, and they're doing some research on like telepathy, and his wife is like in a chair, and she's learning she's like seeing visions of like this church and their worshippers, and
it screams a lot in class. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Tom Skerritt exits the screen and gets a call, and then he comes back and is like, there's something wrong with my family. So you find out
my family's all dead.
He is William Shatner's brother.
Yeah, he's... Because they look so much alike. Holy shit.
This movie is like the opposite of Alien, because in that movie, you think Tom Skerritt's the protagonist, and then, switcheroo, it's Ripley. In this movie, you think William Shatner's the protagonist. Oh, looks, Tom Skerritt's in the movie.
Man, I wish we watched Alien instead.
So despite the kind of somewhat interesting setup, there really isn't like a lot to this plot. It's pretty like skin deep. There isn't a lot of like depth to it.
I feel like more fucked up shit needed to happen.
Yeah, like it would have been cool. It would have been cool if like some fucked up shit, like if they like sent some plagues, like Dr. Five style, onto like Tom Skerritt and his wife as they were trying to get to the cult. But they just drive there. There isn't really any resistance. They're just like there.
But you know what? Making it like rain frogs or something costs a lot of money.
It does.
It kind of just feels like, and I heard that there was a lot of like, there was some like arguments between the director and the writers because the director didn't understand what this script was about, and the writers like couldn't explain it to him.
And it's like, that's a great movie to take on as a director if you can't understand the story.
And it feels like the story was kind of written around the fact that it's like, oh, we have these sets and we have William Shatner for 3 days. Go!
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually really doubt a lot of the William Shatner we see is actually William Shatner and not just another actor wearing the top half of his face. Because when he becomes the eyeless William Shatner, he's wearing an appliance that covers a significant amount of his face, which I guess is where we could talk about, like, the appliance was made with a life cast that was used to make the Captain Kirk Don Post mask, which was used to make the Michael Myers mask. And you can totally see it when you're looking at eyeless Shatner, you're like, that really fucking looks like Michael Myers, which is
Yeah,
pretty
the eyes have that kind of sad quality to them.
Yeah, it's not a one for one cast. I actually like read how they do build masks up from a life cast, because if you take a life cast of Zach, for example, it's gonna be once you cast it. So I would take a mold of the life cast of your face and I would fill that with latex and it would turn into a mask, right?
Yes.
So it would be smaller than your actual head, though. Like each time you cast something, it reduces it in size. So what you have to do is you have to get the life cast and then sculpt it up to a larger size to compensate for it shrinking, which is why a lot of masks that use a life cast don't always look like the actor at all, like the Spock mask in the same line as the William Shatner or Captain Kirk mask. Just a little mask making info to try to make this more interesting.
Little mask trivia for you.
Yes.
No, hey, I appreciate that.
What's your favorite mask, Zach? You say Stanley Ipkiss.
This is a good answer.
I was gonna say The Mask.
My favorite mask, like in a store or like in a movie?
Just in general, man. Just in general.
Probably from the movie Mask, the one with Cher.
Yeah, he's like Rocky Dennis is my favorite.
Oh, gosh.
Guys, I remember being a boy and seeing a Michael Myers mask at the costume shop that was like in the town an hour from mine, and it was $40 whole, and I had to like save up for like several weeks to be able to buy that mask. Memories.
I have a little bit of a mask collection there. They're kind of falling down now. I
don't know, man. All the killer clown masks are pretty cool. Those are well put together.
I heard though, if you buy the ones that are licensed, they're just like full of big ass sponges to make them not like slide off of your face when you put them on, because they're so much bigger than the human head.
Yeah.
So I heard they get even more sweaty than a latex mask normally does, which is a lot. I actually have a whole book on masks here, the Don Post Studios Illustrated History, which I was looking up to see if they did a mask of Ernest Borgnine's transformation in The Devil's Reign, but they didn't.
Yeah, so back to The Devil's Reign. So all the cult members, basically what happens is Ernest Borgnine, who is the leader, takes their souls, and once he's taken their souls, they don't have eyes anymore, and they're like his minions, basically worshippers. So Tom Skerritt...
Which is actually Halloween makeup that they sell at like Walmart and Target now, the eye effect.
It looks pretty good.
Black fabric and then like an eye hole over it so you can still see and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks pretty creepy.
I mean, they could just as easily be like aliens, and you'd be like, okay, basically, like human-looking aliens. So Tom Skerritt and his wife go to confront these worshippers, or actually Tom Skerritt sends his wife away, and then one of the worshippers, I think Tom Skerritt's mom, who was been converted.
Ida Lupino.
Taxer. Yes.
Hollywood legend. Mm-hmm. Actress and director, Ida Lupino.
Slumming it.
Truly, this is not the high point of her illustrious career.
So we find out Tom Skerritt and the head researcher, I don't know this guy's name, but he's there too for some reason. He just decided to tag along.
Yeah.
I don't know why he's there. Again, there isn't a lot of depth to this. There is a flashback.
It's not his family?
Yeah. I should point out there is a flashback sequence that Casey mentioned earlier where we find out that Ernest Borgnine is like thousands of years old, and
and it's in Pilgrim times, and they say bitch and slut, which is not Pilgrim talk. I'm sorry.
It's fantastic.
Don't you remember, Casey? Don't you remember at the Thanksgiving, the first Thanksgiving, when they're like, "Bitches, it's time to eat."
Yeah,
throw down your corn, slut.
Say bitch was a highlight of this movie, though. I do have to say.
Basically, the purpose of the flashback is to reveal why he has been after the Preston family, which is William Shatner, Tom Skerritt's family, for centuries, because they sold him out, basically, and caused his demise. So he made a proclamation to haunt them for years and come back for them, and they have his book that he
instead of
needs.
Just killing them.
Yes.
And the book apparently isn't a spell book, but it has the names of people that he's captured their souls. But they're not signing their souls away to the devil. Their souls stolen.
There is a an artifact or prop in this movie that I thought looked really cool. It's called The Devil's Reign, which is the name of the movie, and that's the artifact in which he keeps his souls in. It looks like
it's like an hourglass.
It's like this hourglass ornate kind of vase, and it looks like it has like a old school like TV screen or something inside. But like you see like all these people that are like kind of like it's like their souls, but it's just like these people. Then it's like obviously like raining, and they're just like screaming. But it looks really cool. Like I'd love to know where that artifact is if it's still around.
I've seen replicas at Monsterpalooza. Like they don't have like a cool screen or anything in them, but they, you know, of the actual like vase or hourglass themselves. I've seen people make replicas. I know, and it's been driving me crazy. I've been trying to find it. Somebody has made a really cool mask of Ernest Borgnine's demonic look, where he kind of... It's supposed to be like a satyr kind of look. I think he looks more like Colobus from Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, he turns into like a little goat kind of.
And it looks cool.
It looks decent.
Looks cool.
Yeah, it looks really cool later on. We'll get to that.
Yeah, there's a mask of it that's pretty amazing. Not when he's melting and his eyeballs popping out, because that would be an awesome mask to own. It actually ended up looking just like Don Poe's Quasimodo mask. I think they did the effects for this movie because everything looks like their work, and they had the molds to make the William Shatner mask, so it makes sense that they could have been the people working on this. I didn't really deep dive into the credits.
Yeah. So basically the climax of the movie, which is the best part of the movie we'll get to, they're going to sacrifice Tom Skerritt's wife because she was captured. Tom Skerritt like tries to do something stupid and gets caught. And then the researcher tries to plead to William Shatner to, he's gonna break the Devil's Reign artifact that he has, and then he like gets captured, and then William Shatner takes it, and he tries to plead to William Shatner to break it and snap out of the spell, and eventually he does, and that's when shit hits the fan. And this is what was really worth seeing with this movie. It's about like a 10-minute sequence of this rain falling down and everyone's face melting. And it's
including Shatner, who was supposed to be breaking the spell and freeing himself, which is really confusing.
Well, I guess
you fucked up, Shatner. You done fucked up.
Yeah. So the way they do this effect, it's like multicolored wax, and I will dare say, best face melting scene this side of Raiders of the Lost Ark. If you like the end of Raiders, you will enjoy this scene. It's pretty fantastic.
I tell you, I deal in face melting scenes, sir, and I take offense to that because the best face melting since Raiders of the Lost Ark is RoboCop, and this is just a shittier version of the RoboCop face melt.
This is like 10 minutes of face melting, man. It's as much face melting as you can get.
RoboCop's more like a body melting, though.
Yeah, but you need 30 seconds of a face melt. You don't need 10 minutes. It's like...
Was it 10? It felt like 20. I was just watching the screen like, I guess this is the end of the movie. I guess this is just what's going to keep happening.
It's very intense. John Travolta's in there, and I think his face
is
melted
melted off. Not one snake popped out of that. You know what? Halloween 3, better face melting scene. Right there.
That's I don't know if it's melting. It's like a head. It's a head imploding, but like you don't see his face dripping.
Yeah, you see drippage come out. It's even on the shirt I have.
He's got a mask on.
The shit starts pouring out of the holes.
I stand by my proclamation. Best face melting scene outside of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I think it's a good effect. It just goes on a little too long.
It does. But you can tell they were proud of it.
It gives the gag
they were fucking proud of it.
And then they start doing this thing where they're vacuuming in rubber dummies to make them look like they're melting, and it looks terrible, and they should have left that shot out, and it drives me fucking crazy. Because all the other stuff looks so good, and then you just see the hands going, and it just looks terrible.
Oh, I must have missed that shot. I thought it looked really cool. It does go on a little too long. You get, like, very prolonged shots of, like, the same person's face melting for, like, 30 seconds. You're like, okay.
But I feel like we're supposed to think it's different people.
You do get shots of some different people, but there's like one person they go to a couple times. The coolest face melting though is Ernest Borgnine himself. His eyeball pops out, as Casey mentioned. His face starts to distort, and then he falls into this hole. I guess I should have
starts climbing out of the hole.
I should have given a spoiler warning before, but I will try and put it in the notes. So even if I don't say it on here, you'll just look in the chapter markers. It'll be there. There's no point in saying this now because
if you're gonna be a dick about a 45-year-old movie, come to the wrong podcast.
So I did appreciate the ending of this movie because Tom Skerritt escapes with his wife and they think they've survived, and he gives her a hug, and then all of a sudden he's hugging Ernest Borgnine.
Yeah, they do the phantasm graveyard fuck on him. That's another scene I would have made more messed up. I would have had him fucking his girlfriend and then find out he was fucking Ernest Borgnine, which would have
That
been
would
the
make
most
this movie
iconic scene in
so
cinematic
much
history.
better.
Yes.
Yeah, that would make this movie so
And
much better.
Ernest would have been on top and his ass would have been hanging out. There we go.
And then he'd go, I think I want to be a butcher now.
You know, Ernest Borgnine's still alive. I think we can make this happen.
Oh, is
I
he
think
really?
he
Wow.
passed away.
I thought he did
Did
too.
he?
This is gonna get really sad because I'm pretty
Shatner's
sure
still alive.
he's
Dude, he was.
I think
was
he
Shatner's
passed-
still alive and older than he. older
passed
than us.
away 8 years ago.
Then he was
Oh.
at Monsterpalooza 9 years ago. Damn.
But Ernest Borgnine is awesome. I thought this was a fun time. I gave it about 3 stars, mainly because of that scene at the end.
I gave it a 1.5 star. I did not like it. I wanted to. Sorry, Joe. I didn't like this one. I tried, Joe.
I guess I'm in the middle of you guys. I went 2.5. I thought there were some interesting parts, but I was kind of bored through a lot of it. It felt like every now and then I would look up and be like, huh, that's interesting. And then nearly fall asleep again.
It took me 3 to 5 times to get through this movie, and that usually doesn't happen. It happened with It Chapter 2. Holy shit, I watched that. Ugh. Terrible.
You really didn't like that movie.
No.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Joe, for the request. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you, and keep them coming. If you have other ones, let us know.
Yeah, we'd love to talk about anything you guys want us to mention. You know, we love reviewing movies and doing retrospectives, but we want to branch out and do different things, try and do new segments, and viewer requests are awesome. So if there's something you want us to see, if it's a horror porno, Casey will watch it and report back.
No, there actually is a horror movie called Porno coming out by
there is.
Fangoria. I will not watch actual porno for our listeners. Thank you very much.
No, he'll watch anything with he'll watch some pretty grimy stuff, but porn is where he draws the line.
Oh, speaking of grimy stuff, I think it's time for Don't Cross the Streams. Okay, that was our transition music. Okay, so Don't Cross the Streams. I wanted to talk about something. These guys wanted to talk about something as well. I wanted to talk about Shudder because our friends at Shudder, who do not sponsor this podcast, their loss, have brought back Joe Bob Briggs for another season. We are 2 weeks deep as of the time of this recording, and he has given us some real gems.
Yeah, I tuned in. I didn't have time to watch it the other day, but I tuned in briefly, and he was talking about sex dolls and infidels.
Sounds about right. Sounds about right. So, week 1 was Chopping Mall, as discussed on this podcast.
I wish I had saved the first time I watched Chopping Mall for that time, because I would have enjoyed it way more.
And one of the most fucked up movies you could probably see, Blood-Sucking Freaks. And he was joined by Blood-Sucking Freaks enthusiast Chris Jericho, Le Champion himself, the Paid Maker, Y2J, the Lionheart, Chris Jericho, one of my favorite people on this planet. I want everyone to go watch Blood-Sucking Freaks and then realize I saw it for the first time in 10th grade. That was an experience. Joe Bob talks about that. Then, this week, which just happened last night as of this recording, the first one was Maniac, in which he had Tom Savini as a guest. And the second one was actually a surprise for Joe Bob. To the chagrin of some people who don't know shit about movies, the second one was Heathers, which that movie fucking rules. And I'm glad he did it, because not enough horror fans have seen it. But a lot of horror dude bros were crying about it online because they didn't want to watch Heathers because they thought it was a girl movie. First of all, movies are just movies. And second of all, Heathers is the fucking shit.
Yeah, that's what I saw someone tweeting about this, about talking about how guys, Heathers may not be a horror movie, but it's a fucking great movie. I was just like, I wonder where that conversation came from.
Yep, it was because of Joe Bob.
Gotcha.
But I like him challenging the audience a little bit and going a little bit outside of the box, especially with a movie as great as Heather's. If you're listening to the show and you have not seen Heather's, I implore you to do it immediately. Do it with Joe Bob. He'll give you some cool tidbits. I actually haven't watched that episode yet because I subscribed to Shudder through Amazon, and they've been really late putting the Joe Bob shit up. So I'm about a week behind on that. But I look
any
forward
movie
to
with
watching
the
it.
expression "fuck me gently with a chainsaw" is worth checking out.
Yes. That should be a shirt. That should have been on the fucking poster. I'm sure it's a shirt now. Speaking of fucking someone gently with a chainsaw, I've also been watching Ash vs. Evil Dead on Netflix because they have everything now. They're caught up.
Very good.
Show rules. I'm also catching up on Castlevania on there. They just added a new season. I fucking love that show. I cannot recommend it enough. Yes, it's an anime based on a video game, but it's written by Warren Ellis, who's a certified G, bona fide stud, fucking man. And yeah, it's nothing like the games. It's very, very R-rated, adult, and funny. And the games aren't ever funny. So check out Castlevania on Netflix. They're about 3 seasons deep. I've also been watching Watchmen on HBO because I'm really behind on shit, but quarantine catches you up. And I love that show, and I'm so sad it didn't get a second season. But I love that they're a sequel to the comic and not the shitty movie that completely...
It didn't get a second season?
No.
Really?
Really.
That's surprising.
They said they might be open to making it like an anthology series, but they're not going to continue the story at all.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is a bummer, because it's pretty fucking good. Other than that, I've been watching non-horror stuff like Ozark. I've been getting into that. Pretty good. You kind of hate everyone. Like, it's worse than Breaking Bad in that aspect. Also saw the debut of Betty on HBO, which is a show about girls who skateboard. That show was fucking dope.
Huh.
I know it's not normally what we talk about on this show, but I recommend watching it. It was good shit. It's 1 episode in. It just debuted, so get in on the ground floor. It's pretty good.
Nice. What about you, Chris? Any recommendations?
Yeah, well, first I want to talk about a not really recommendation, just because it just came out like yesterday, but it's slightly horror related. But if you're an American Horror Story fan, you might be interested in Ryan Murphy's new Netflix show Hollywood. Not a recommendation.
No,
I was gonna say you kind of lost.
in.
You lost me at Ryan Murphy.
Yeah,
honestly, the previews looked interesting, but I didn't click on it.
It's frustrating because I think Ryan Murphy. I guess the stuff I've liked from Ryan Murphy is not stuff he's like really had his fingers in, except for maybe Feud. Because I thought maybe since I liked Feud and it's like a Hollywood historical show, this might be worth checking out. But it's just kind of got too much of his like sleazy, shallow characters, and that's just like it's pure just like sleazeball entertainment with like very, very vapid social commentary.
So all the shit I hated about American Horror Story.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's
horror
just
stuff.
it feels also because it's basically about an alternate. What if Hollywood had taken an alternate route of history and become like a lot more progressive in the 50s? It just feels really fanficky for most of it. So yeah,
There's
not,
just like
not
a
strong
there's
recommendation.
just like a tone to like a lot of his work. Like I like what he like the areas the genres he dabbles in, and I like elements of his work in American Horror Story, and you know.
Oh, I loved the Coven episode. The Coven season.
Did either of you guys check out the 80s slasher one they just did, which should have been up our alleys, but I heard mixed kind of things about it.
No,
The episodes I saw,
I've only
like,
seen 2 seasons.
There's one. I'm getting tired of shit coming out now, pretending it's 80s shit. I'm getting really tired of this retro 80s vibe. I love it, but not anymore. Everything, you know what? It was cool before everything was biting off of Stranger Things doing it. And now it just seems like everything wants to be Stranger Things instead of wanting to be retro 80s homage to great stuff we grew up watching.
Yeah,
Because like, if it was something like Super 8, for example, I would be all for it. I thought Super 8 had its own tone enough that it wasn't just Stranger Things. It might have come out before Stranger Things anyway. I think it
Oh
did.
yeah, like nearly 10 years before Stranger Things, I think.
And it's like...
It did. I wasn't a huge into Super 8. I thought like Stranger Things did what Super 8 was trying to do, but
You are the devil, Zach.
I'm kind of on Zach's side.
I love the setup of Stranger Things. The viral marketing was fantastic. That was really entertaining. But the movie itself, I was like, yeah.
Oh, that's J.J. Abrams for you.
Yeah.
Lots of show, not as much substance.
Yeah, I like me. I've gotten to the point where I realize J.J. Abrams has made more stuff I don't like than I do like.
He did just do. This is. I guess we're still doing Don't Cross the Streams, but did you see the trailer for the? I think it's called Lovecraft Country or Lovecraft County, with him. He's collabing with Jordan Peele on like this new kind of horror series on HBO. It looks pretty cool.
Okay.
I haven't seen the trailer, and is it on HBO or is
It's
it
coming
gonna
out in
be on-
August, so yeah.
So is it the new service or is it still going to be regular HBO?
It just says I just know HBO. I don't know what service it's going to be on.
I was also
Yeah,
poking
'cause-
around on Disney Plus because I felt like I just haven't really explored Disney Plus. At least some of their old stuff I kind of want to revisit.
Yeah.
Because they've got some fun like 60s Disney movies on there. They also have some interesting like documentary original stuff on there. They've got a show on there called Prop Culture.
Yeah,
I
that
was
show
gonna say
rules.
propaganda, but it's
Yeah.
called Prop Culture, and it's
That
basically
show's
just like
great.
yeah, it's really fun. It's basically each episode focuses on a movie, and it's this one guy, and he just goes and searches for props from that movie, and also interviews significant actors or creators behind it. So there's one on the Muppet movie, and he goes and interviews Brian Henson. He interviews Dave Goelz. He interviews Gonzo. He interviews Paul Williams.
You know what it feels like, despite the prop focus, is like this is what the movies that made us should have been.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was like, this kicks movies that made us his ass.
Yeah, and have you watched Imagineering yet?
I watched the first episode. Yeah.
It's good as it goes on because they get really brutally honest about fucking up
Oh, interesting.
and like shitting on Disney California Adventure. It's amazing.
Huh.
Deservedly shitting on Disney California Adventure.
Okay. Well, I was
had a
actually going to
season
be.
pass during those.
I'll be
early
interested in
years.
that because that's always kind of my slight critique with Disney documentary stuff is that usually it's kind of like it's more puff piece than
Yeah,
good
it's
documentary.
kind of weird. There's enough negativity that it feels like it's not done in house, which is really awesome. Actually, you know, like you don't
Yeah,
expect
yeah.
that.
But there's a Who Framed Roger Rabbit episode where they interview lots of the cast of Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
I have not watched that one yet.
Oh, it's really good. And Mary Poppins episode. So yeah, if you're like, if you're just in general interested in kind of behind the scenes of those movies, I think it's definitely worth checking out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I have a horror recommendation for you guys. Horror recommendation for you guys. Horror.
Zach always
You have to do that
recommended
every
the
time.
prostitutes.
I always say horror. I mean horror.
He's
Horror.
like, hey guys, I think you should raw dog some prosties.
You just got to start pronouncing it like horror, like you're a old Jewish man. Horror.
All right.
Let's go see the horror picture.
All right.
So this is another entry in the found footage genre, which is certainly a mixed bag to say the least. But this is a quality entry. It came out in 2018. It hails from the land of South Korea.
It's a panda.
It is called Gonjiam Haunted Asylum. If you don't know, Gonjiam is actually an asylum, insane asylum in South Korea. It's apparently one of the 7 freakiest places on Earth, according to a 2012 article from CNN, from which I guess this film got its idea.
You know, I consider CNN the world's foremost expert on haunted places.
I mean, you know, it's more reputable than some others.
Keep talking, Zach. I like haunted asylums.
Yeah, so this came out in 2018, and I guess it was a pretty big hit over there. I just found out about it when I was going to watch this movie called 0.0 Megahertz. It's on Shudder. And
Right.
then I looked it up,
Just
and
went up this month.
I read some mixed things about it, and I read an article that was saying this is a much better version of that. So I was like, all right, I'll check this out instead.
So where did you find this?
It's up on YouTube. It's on Vudu. Amazon Prime, I think, is where I watched it. You have to rent it. It's like a few bucks, but I would say it's worth the rent.
Yeah.
It follows a very similar format to Grave Encounters. From people are saying it took a lot.
Fucking love that movie.
Yeah, some people are saying it took
Don't
some
watch the
influence from
second
that.
one. Don't watch number 2.
I have not seen the second one.
Okay, you need to see it to see why I say not to watch the second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a minute since I saw Grave Encounters, but I do remember enjoying it. But I actually think this is a much more organic version of that. I don't know, but just because it's...
I love Grave Encounters because I watched so much Ghost Adventures, and it was such a spot-on parody of that show that I just loved it.
Yeah, you'll like this then, Casey, because it's a very similar setup. So you start off with there's this video of these two guys that are visiting this asylum, and all of a sudden they hear a noise, and they're like, what's that? And then you kind of see it slow down, and it kind of pans in that very kind of cheap way that you see on like a ghost hunting show or like a paranormal caught on camera show. And then you see, and there's like a face in like a door in the background, which is kind of creepy. And then all of a sudden you cut to the host of this program, this young Asian guy, South Korean guy. And he's talking about, so is this real? And he's talking about how we want to investigate this footage. And then he finds a news article, and these teens are missing. So he's like, well, we have to investigate it. And the show is called, I think it's called Horror Times.
I would watch that show.
Yeah.
Welcome to Horror Times.
Yeah, so they integrate kind of these elements, and then you kind of meet up the crew that's going to go into this asylum. And everyone kind of ends up getting their own like GoPro cam later on, and also POV shots. So you're getting everything. And what they're trying to do is they're live streaming them going into this haunted asylum while these people are investigating it. And the main guy is kind of sitting back watching from this computer room. But you really, yeah. So you get to meet this crew, and they're a likable bunch. It just feels very natural. It isn't too forced or fake. It takes a bit to get to the asylum. You know, they have to sneak around, and they're like trying to get to like 1 million views so they can get like ad revenue money. That's like their goal, to get like a bunch of money and ads and shit. Of course, you have a couple people that are, it's just a slight spoiler, but I'll just say slight spoiler. A couple of the dudes end up trying to fake a couple things unbeknownst to the other members of the group that are new to the group. And things take a turn.
Happening on certain shows.
Yeah.
Ghost Hunters.
Things take a turn. And that's all I'll say. It's good. It does take a while to... I never was bored, but it takes a while for things to start happening. You kind of just hear noises and things like that. You don't really see anything for a bit. But there is some pretty creepy scenes. I had a good time. It's not going to blow your socks off, but it's enjoyable. I'd probably give it maybe about 3 stars. I'd probably give it about 3 stars, 2.5, 3 stars.
Nice.
I enjoyed it. So if you like found footage flicks, this is a solid entry. There's some good stuff here. It's a decent kind of parody of this film, similar to Close Encounters. It felt a little more organic to me or Close Encounters, Grave Encounters. It felt a little more organic to me than that. I would say if you just want a good kind of popcorn muncher to throw on, it's mindless, it's entertaining. Go for it. And it did pretty well overseas, so it definitely has a bit of a cult following.
Oh, I do have a little mindless entertainment that I'd like to talk about as well, just because Predator Hunting Grounds has been officially released. Zach and I talked about the demo. It's the same game that we talked about then, pretty much. Not much has changed, except it's easier to get into a game. Pretty much everything we talked about before is accurate. It's been getting kind of slammed in reviews for being kind of janky, but still fun. But I found that the fun makes up for the jankiness. Zach feels the other way. I could tell. But I don't know. Like, they patch it, it gets better over time. It took years for Friday the 13th to be, like, not so janky, and it still kind of was.
I haven't picked it up yet, but I did enjoy playing with you. I've been playing a horror Metroidvania game called Blasphemous, which Casey's already quit on because he's a bitch.
Yeah, I hate it, because you know what? You know what Metroidvania games don't need is precision-based platforming, which I hate in games. It's one of my least favorite things. It's one of the things that turns me off of a game faster.
It's not even precision-based. Okay, let's... Moving right along. This is a little bit of a new idea for you guys, so I kind of wanted to introduce sort of discussion segments for you to kind of into these episodes. Kind of a question of the week, or question of the episode.
I'd like to vote that when you ask us these questions, you have to get red glasses like Sally Jesse Raphael.
Sally Jesse Raphael. I need a better name for this segment. So, if listeners, viewers, Casey, Chris, if you have any better name for this segment, let me know.
Call it talking shit, pal. What shit do you have for us, Zach?
Sounds like a James Rolfe
So I think
segment.
one of the I think one of the more interesting kind of sagas in this never-ending coronavirus thing is kind of how theme parks are handling things.
Oh.
And I love a good theme park. And it'll be interesting to see what they do when they open up again and what kind of measures they're going to have to take. And I can't imagine the headache they're going through.
You know how much fun a haunted house is going to be when people have to jump out from 6 feet away?
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
I can't say I'm like a coaster fiend. I'll do everything at Disney. Six Flags stuff.
I hate roller coasters. I will not. No, I live 5 minutes from Six Flags, and I will not get on any of that shit.
Chris is not into coasters either. I guess I'm the
Nope,
most hardcore
nope.
of any of you guys, and I'm not a coaster guy, but I'll do the Disney ones.
This is like our type. We can watch the most horrific, scary shit, but I will not get on a roller coaster to save my life.
But my
It
favorite
makes
type,
me barf, dude.
my favorite type,
Sorry.
my favorite type of theme park attraction is a dark ride. I love a good old dark ride. So here's my question for you guys: if you could turn any horror property into a dark ride, what would it be? How would you do it? And what park would you put it in? So 3-part question. Also, like events like Halloween Horror Nights, those don't count because those are mazes. That's a different type of thing. I mean a dark ride, like Haunted Mansion style, like you ride through it. Who?
Okay, so I would do Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay.
I don't know what park I'd put it in because no one has the fucking rights to Nightmare on Elm Street. But Universal does do stuff where they license half of the park isn't Universal properties now. Simpsons, not Universal. Harry Potter, not Universal.
Well, and as
So-
rumor has it, Universal is opening up a horror themed section in this Epic Universe expansion they're doing in Orlando, and they have like a horror.
Yes,
park
but
that's
that is going to be classic Universal
Yes.
Monsters based apparently, and it's going to kick ass if that's the case. But yeah, I would do Nightmare on Elm Street just because you could have so many iterations of Freddy within the ride kind of guiding you through things. The nightmare narrative can make all kinds of crazy shit happen, and you could be shifting from scene to scene without really having to explain things, and the story will still flow. I would definitely have some stuff that was a couple greatest hits nightmare things. If you don't have the Freddy penis snake, people are going to be mad. So you have to have something with that. If you don't have a welcome to primetime bitch, people are going to get mad, right? I probably wouldn't do that one though, but I would have the stretching out of the wall from Nightmare on Elm Street 1. That would be a very easy effect to do over and over again as cars pass by. I would also, I'd have a lunging penis snake. That's absolutely. I would also like to see some kind of homage to the end of the Haunted Mansion, where instead of the hitchhiking ghost, Freddy's sitting right next to you, stabbing you or something. So, but done in a way that it's a bathroom mirror, like in Nightmare on Elm Street 3 when Kristen gets her wrist slit or something. I think it could work.
Or that gif where he's putting on his sunglasses and like pointing. That would be funny.
You could switch it up. You could have different ones, different times people ride. I don't know if you guys have seen the Haunted Mansion Hitchhiking Ghosts in Florida, how it's all CGI and they do all kinds of different weird shit. It's not the Pepper's Ghost effect.
I don't know. If
It's
that's
really
in there.
weird. They got my girlfriend and I, and they switched our faces on our
Oh,
heads.
that's cool.
And the effect didn't really work all that great, but that's what they were trying to do. But yeah, I'd like to see something like that. I would say Friday the 13th would work equally well, but I think that Nightmare on Elm Street would definitely lend itself to a dark ride.
See lots of neon, lots of glowing things.
Yeah, because like you could go into the heroin alley with Taryn. You could go into the boiler room. I'd say a significant portion of the ride should probably be in a boiler room. And there's all kinds of cool effects you can do with steam and smells and like all kinds of stuff. It could be a lot of fun. I would say that would be my vote for a dark ride. I'm definitely interested in seeing what you guys say though, because it's kind of I think about this a lot, and I didn't know this was a question coming up. So yeah, sorry if I'm rambling for a bit, but I do think about this.
Spring it on you guys. All right, Chris.
I would do the Evil Dead series.
Nice. That's a good
'cause
one.
then you could see Ash from how he looks in the first movie, and then see how he evolves. Just physically, how his costume and just physically how he changes, turns from a normal looking guy to like this weird buff giant chin man from a different time.
To dad bod.
You'd have it, to dad bod, and then you'd have this you could have this interesting part where it seems like you're going through a vortex, and then you end up in medieval times. Lots of skeleton warriors everywhere. Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that would be.
And then at the very end, just a giant bucket of blood just like pours on you, just like shoots like out of a hose, out of the wall, just like drenching you.
Well, I have one that would probably be right at home at Universal's classic monster thing, and that is a ride for the Monster Squad. Because think about it, guys. You start off with this great-ass opening where you're in Dracula's castle.
You start off with a movie that they refuse to give the Universal license to. Just saying.
So you start off in Dracula's castle. Van Helsing is battling demons and skeletons. Then all of a sudden, this parallel dimension warp thing opens up. You're sucked in. They blew it. It yells that over the loudspeaker. You blew it, and then you're sucked in. You end up going through the treehouse, the Monster Squad treehouse. You see like all these drawings on the wall of like spider with human head. You know.
You get like an animatronic or Rudy looking at naked
girls.
Yes,
absolutely you do. And then you go to the airplane where Dracula's on the airplane and he escapes. And then you go down into the swamp and all the monsters converge and like the lightning is striking and they bring in Frankenstein to life. Then you go to the kid's house and he sees the mummy in his closet. You keep going. You go to the house that Dracula's inhabited with all the monsters. You go through there. You see all the monsters. There's coming out. And then you're at the church. And the kids are all there. And the vampire mistresses are coming at you. And they're trying to do the incantation. And then you go and the warp is back open again. And Dracula and Frankenstein are fighting. And then Van Helsing is back. And then the thumbs up. And then we're the Monster Squad, bitch. And that's the right.
Okay, first of all, no give me the amulet, you bitch.
No, that's got to be in there too.
All the classic lines will be in there.
You have if you're in
I'm
like
the goddamn
people
club,
mover
aren't
type,
I?
Yeah.
People mover type vehicle, and then you have the mummy jump on the back, and then you have Rudy go, see you later, Band-Aid breath.
And it's interactive. You have like stake guns on the side of the ride, and you can like shoot them at like.
Now you're just turning it into Buzz Lightyear, and that's just all computer screens. Buzz Lightyear isn't. That's animatronics. Toy Story's all computer screens.
Anyway, I thought that'd be fun to talk about. Let's do more stuff like this, gentlemen. So if you have any questions, guys, maybe we'll alternate. If anyone else has any discussion topics they want us to get.
Yeah, I liked that one because I really have always wanted a Nightmare on Elm Street based ride. So it is something I think about a lot.
Yeah, so if anyone has anything they want to ask us, just please send it in. I did want to ask you guys real quickly before we go. This isn't the most fun thing to talk about, but how you guys feeling about this whole AMC Universal fiasco with AMC refusing to...
Oh, AMC, you fucking morons. Oh my god. Did you forget Universal made the Fast films? You dumb shits. You know how much money those movies are going to make? Yeah, Jurassic fucking Park. I mean, yeah, usually you could be like, oh, it's Universal. They don't make shit that makes money. But you know what? They even made The Invisible Man that made money.
Yeah,
Trolls World Tour clearly made money.
I would say it's just AMC being completely idiotic again, but apparently Regal followed suit. Yeah.
Yeah, we can say again because this has happened before. There was a good time where they refused to carry. Whose film was it that they weren't? You couldn't see the Paranormal Activity movies at AMC. You had to go outside of AMC. The
first one?
No, it was the sequels. But there was there was an agreement like this where they were cock blocking somebody, and we weren't able to see a bunch of horror films at AMC. We had to see them in lesser theaters because where Zach lives and where I live, AMC's are usually far and away the best theaters for seeing mainstream films that are in a reasonable driving distance. And when I'm forced to go to fucking Regal, I hate it. But you know what? If I have to see every Universal film at Regal, I will. Even movies that I wasn't going to see, I'll just pay for them because they're Universal, just to spite AMC.
It's almost like
I'm also an A-list
AMC
member.
hates movies.
They're almost turning into AMC, the channel that clearly hates movies.
I don't know, guys. I've got this wild idea. What if movie theater, but owned by someone who likes movies?
It's a very wild idea.
I
We
know.
can go to the New Beverly, but we're not going
Yeah.
to see Fast and the Furious there.
All
I
right.
did see War of the Gargantuas, though. That was pretty dope.
All right, listeners. So that'll wrap it up for us today. But if you like that discussion question and you want to send us in your answers, feel free. What horror property would you turn into a dark ride? What would it be? How would you do it? Just send us,
If you,
DM us.
if you answered Scream, just stop listening to our podcast. don't send the email. Thank you.
Aw, okay. So let me plug our social media here real quickly. Guys, where can they find you? On Twitter, Instagram.
Twitter.com
I can be
/ Chris
found at
Pistol.
my house, which I don't leave. Don't leave my house. Or at Lucha Gringo on Twitter, on Letterboxd. That's pretty much all I use. Just find me in one of those places.
You can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/Earth2McFly. That's Earth, the number 2, McFly. I didn't introduce you
Remember
guys.
to ask him what batwinging it is.
I did not introduce you guys during the show.
It's fine.
No,
they
not
know
at
who we
all.
are.
That's Chris. That's Casey. I'm Zach. I am sorry to save the intro
My
for the end of
name
the
is
show.
Richard Foker. I've
don't
been
have- you
here
don't have
the
to
whole
intro it.
time.
I totally forgot the introduction, guys. I'm sorry. On our 1-year anniversary special.
You forgot to introduce me, Bartholomew Cox.
But you can also follow us on twitter.com/MPOSofficial. That's MPOS Official, which stands for Miserable Pile of Secrets, which is our blog website.
Follow me at Fuck You, Zach.
And you
For
can
not mentioning my beautiful name.
And you can check out our website. That's miserablepilesecrets.com. We have some reviews and stuff up there if you're interested. And yeah, and if you want, you can also follow me on Instagram. That's Instagram /Earth2Zach, Z-A-K. Okay, thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was real fun. It was our 1-year anniversary show, and we're just going to keep it going. We really enjoy doing this. We're just doing it for fun right now, but please tell your friends, your family. We'd like to keep it going. If you're on a service, subscribe to us. We're also on YouTube, so you can look us up on YouTube.
Yes, and give us the thumbs up. Make me feel good about something in my life.
And don't
As
look
I'm
up my old YouTube
wasting
content.
away inside my home.
Chris used to have a YouTube channel, and he did reviews. So did Casey, actually.
Shut up. Stop talking.
I've had a few YouTube channels, actually.
yeah,
None of them exist
Chris,
anymore.
Casey was wearing like a lucha mask during his video, so I think you're safe.
Oh, dude. Okay, so yeah, I used to do these reviews called the Mass Movie Reviews, and I'd wear a lucha mask and I'd review a movie. But then all these weird fetishist people started subscribing to my channels. I'm not kink shaming anyone, but when I click on your channel and it's like people in ski masks abducting people for all the favorited videos, I get a little self-conscious about my videos where I'm wearing masks. I'm not making stroke material for you people, but do you. It's fine.
And on that note, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Thank you so much for being with us. Really, if you have any questions, if you have anything you want to recommend, if you want to send in answers,
You want to ask Zach for pictures of his feet.
not that. Please write us. Let us know what you think. Take it easy. Please stay safe. We're getting through this, guys. 1 week at a time. Just take care of
Oh,
yourselves.
hey, can I throw in that I got like cool horror themed COVID masks?
Sure.
Yeah,
come?
so look up the Sinister Stitch on Etsy. She makes really cool horror themed masks. You can't see this, but I'm showing one to the guys. It's like different, spooky words and fonts and stuff, and they're all backwards because of the camera. But got one like that. I got one with like cool disembodied eyeballs on it and stuff. High quality. Ooh, I wear them outside when I go on walks, and like you all should be. I'm watching you people, and yeah, reasonably priced, handmade. They're cool. So that's Sinister Stitch on Etsy.
Awesome. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. Take it easy, stay safe. We will see you next time.